Can I just say one thing firstly? I love the name Eat, Sleep, Boxing, Repeat.
Welcome back to ESBR Boxing's YouTube channel in partnership with sharpbetting.co.uk, your home of betting tips and analysis, not just on boxing, but a wide range of sports. So please do check them out and click in the link in the description. But we are here for some boxing talk. I'm delighted to be joined by Niall and Ra. It is the big fight breakdown for the fight happening on Saturday, 3rd of May in Riyadh. It's an undisputed super middleweight title fight between the one, the only Saul Canelo Alvarez and the IBF champion William Scull. As I mentioned, undisputed status at 168 pounds on the line here. Canelo formerly being the undisputed champion, looking to do it again in the same weight class. So yeah, we're gonna kind of dissect this fight a little bit, talk about a few different points before giving our predictions at the end. So please do hang about, check out our predictions and stuff, and let us know in the comments your thoughts on the fight as well. Guys, pleasure as always. Thanks very much for joining me. Ra, I'll come to you first. I just kind of want to ask, you look at this fight on paper and you think, yeah, Skull's undefeated, but at what level? Could be untested. He's not as seasoned as Canelo. Canelo needs no introduction. He is the favorite here, but just how much of a favorite are you making Canelo in your eyes in terms of like, if you were going to maybe percentage split this fight?
I'd say he's as big a favourite as he's been for pretty much his entire super middleweight reign. Um, a very considerable favourite, but I think increasingly as each fight goes on, the gap in terms of how much of a favourite he is, it's based more on abilities in the ring. Um, and I think in purely boxing terms, if you were to take away Canelo's enormous financial and therefore political sway, I think the actual gap in the ring won't be as big as people are making out. But in terms of Skull's chances of actually winning, his chances are as slim as pretty much all of Canelo's super middleweight opponents.
Interesting. Yeah, it's interesting. A few good points you've made there. Niall, throwing since the same question to you. Are you in agreement with Ra there, or do you feel that obviously Ra was maybe making it out to be a closer fight in terms of actually in the ring with all the rest forgotten about. But how do you see it? Do you think that Canelo's like a almost a resounding favorite, whereas like he cannot lose kind of thing, or do you give Skull a chance here as well?
Yeah, it's a very interesting one. As you say, Skull undefeated, but it's always kind of a worrying sign when somebody is undefeated against names that you haven't kind of heard of before. I remember when this fight was kind of first mooted, when Skull was mandatory, when Canelo had the IBF, a lot of people were saying, "Who is this guy? This undefeated Cuban." But he worked himself into that position, and I don't particularly rate William Skull highly from what I've seen of him stylistically. I think he's decent, but I think he does leave big openings. He gets hit a lot. He had a decent win against Vladimir Shishkin last time out. A lot of people thought Shishkin maybe deserved a nod there, but Skull got it done. I think Canelo is rightly a big favourite, a resounding favourite. But it is a weird one in that I was checking the odds earlier for sharp betting. Our partners at sharp betting, and they have Canelo 25-1 on favor for this one. And I think that's very wide. I think I can't really remember when we had two, world champion in an undisputed title fight, that big of an underdog, or Canelo being that big of a favorite. So maybe that's a bit too wide, but I think, there's another point we're kind of probably going to get onto later is that, was Canelo past his best? I don't think he's past his best enough to kind of, um, also above Skull even at this stage. But Skull is a decent fighter for this level. But yeah, he shouldn't be troubling Canelo for me.
Yeah, a few interesting points there from yourself as well. Now I'm kind of just throwing it right back to you, but this kind of leads me on to the next question. What sort of chance do you actually give William Skull here? Like people talk about, oh, such and such has got a puncher's chance, but does William Skull have a puncher's chance? Because he's not exactly a concussive puncher either.
Yeah, that's the thing. He doesn't have that kind of game-changing power. And as I said previously, I don't rate him massively. I think, he has good attributes. He's relatively fast hands, decent footwork, but I think he gets hit a lot. He's open to a solid jab and a solid counter, and there's no real better counter puncher. There's not many better counter punchers than Canelo Alvarez. So yeah, I think he's a very kind of reflexive base fighter for his upper body movement, but I don't think his upper body movement is kind of quick enough or clever enough to cause Canelo too many problems. What it comes down to is I just think Canelo's seen he's not bringing anything that Canelo hasn't seen before, in my opinion. You know, stranger things have happened. It wouldn't be one of the biggest upsets of all time, but it would be a pretty drastic upset if he was to win. But stranger things have happened, but I just can't see it. I really can't see it.
Yeah, I think that's. I think you've hit the nail on the head with a few points there. I do agree with you, Ra. The same question to you. If you were to put it in, if you were to give me a percentage of how much of a chance, out of 100, how do you have this? Do you have this like an 80-20 in favor of Canelo, maybe even wider? What are your thoughts?
Higher, I think 90-10. One thing about Canelo's abilities, that helps him in terms of, as we said, his financial and political sways, that extraordinary punch resistance of his. Because of that, you just don't see him ever get dented. And I think that really always gives the judges that cover, that there's never any visible sign that even when punches are landing, that it's effective. Um, so, we know Canelo, his work rate has dropped dramatically in recent years, and he relies on his tremendous IQ to, as Niall said, get those effective counters off at opportune moments. But I think that punch resistance and the fact that Skull hasn't shown any sort of world level power means that even if Skull is doing a lot of hitting, it will be so ineffective visually that the judges just it will give the judges the cover they need to not give him those rounds. So because of that, yeah, I think he's got a very low chance of actually getting something out of this, even if he is actually having some success in there, as much success as he possibly could.
Yeah, yeah, interesting. And another few great points there. And I'll throw it back to you, Rob. It's something that Niall mentioned earlier that we were going to come on to. We are going to come on to now, and that is, I kind of want to ask you, not really, it's not solely looking at this fight, but just Canelo as a whole, the last few performances, what he was like in his heyday, his best career performances compared to now. Do you believe that he is past his best? And if so, how far is he down the mountain?
Yeah, I don't know why people have a problem with talking about aging fighters being past their best. I mean, it's a biological reality, isn't it? Unless you've got a little extra help somehow. But at his age, 34 fights, coming up to, is it 70 professional fights? I shudder to think the amount of rounds and the amount of blows to the head he's taken. Um, but in terms of how much he's slipped, again, just the optics of it are that I don't think much at all. The flaws that he's had in the past, such as, maybe a limited gas tank. Um, I mean, he had those when he was younger, didn't he? And yes, it might have dropped a bit more now, but again, his tremendous ring IQ and his ring craft enables him to manage it so well. At least against the sort of opponents he's getting away with picking out. Yeah, he's maybe we're down to a 75 or 80% Canelo, but at super middleweight, so far there hasn't been the competition to really expose how much he's dropped. And because he, again, politically, he's got so much sway, there's never really enough pressure for him to take those fights. So maybe Bud Crawford could expose it. If that fight happens, maybe you'll invite me back on to give my views as to why I think Bud Crawford will end the Canelo streak. But no, for now, I don't think he's dropped significantly uh, for it to be to tell at this level.
Interesting. Well, as yeah, that's maybe a video for another day. Hopefully, well, if Canelo comes through this, I'm sure maybe looks like he will fight Bud Crawford. But as you said, yeah, that's a video for another day. Now, what do you reckon? You kind of picking up on the fact that Ra said there maybe he's perhaps at about a 75%, 80% version of Canelo right now. Would you agree with that? Or do you maybe have him a little further past his best, or do you still think he's at the peak of his powers?
Yeah, I have to agree with pretty much everything Ra said there. There is the talk of him being on the decline, and he is past his best, but that's totally understandable. As Ra says, the length of career he's had now, he's in his mid-30s, been a pro since what, 15 years of age. It's only natural. It's just as you said, it's biology that he is going to slow down. Um, so I don't kind of subscribe to the notion that he's as much on the decline as some people make out. I'm not really sure where they're getting that from. Maybe he has slowed a touch, but he lost to Dimitri Bivol up at light heavyweight. There's absolutely no shame in that. And I know people say again, he's on a decision streak as well at the minute, and his kind of lack of power in his last few fights, but he doesn't need to kind of push for the knockout. He's still proven that he's an absolutely elite level fighter against world class opposition since that Bivol loss. That he's just completely schooling and outclassing without the need to knock them out. So yeah, he is on the decline, um, definitely. But I think where Ra had it about 75, 80% is about right. I definitely don't think he's more past his best than that. Maybe even a little less past his best than that. But yeah, I agree with everything that was said there. It's only natural, but he's still the cream of the crop. And as Ra touched on as well, there's nobody really at super middleweight at the minute to prove. If he is kind of more on the decline than we both think, that challenge isn't there. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the next 12 months or so folds. As you say, he has to get past this fight first, but yeah, I think he's still world class.
Yeah, interesting. Some great points from you both there. Very, very interesting. We have come on to our prediction segment of the video, so we're all going to give our prediction on how this fight plays out. I have a fair idea of who we're all probably going to go for, but potentially maybe methods of victory or whatever could differ. So I'll go back to you straight away, Niall. What is your prediction for Canelo Skull, this undisputed super middleweight title fight? Who wins and how?
Yeah, as you say, it's no secret. I'm going for a Canelo win. No disrespect to William Scull, but as I say, the flaws I've seen in him, particularly in that Shishkin fight, how much he gets hit, how much he gets countered, it worried me. If I'm a William Scull fan, that worried me. So I'm going for a decision, Canelo decision. I think Scull will have maybe a bit of success early, while Canelo kind of works him out. Downloading the data as we like to say. But I think Canelo, very wide decision, 117, 111 type of range. Quite decisive decision for me.
Yeah, interesting, interesting. Ra, what about you? You going with Canelo decision as well, or could there perhaps be a stoppage?
No, I think that's the most likely outcome. One thing, just following on of the previous point, one area where I do think Canelo has declined significantly is the psychological edge. I think just having comfortable fight after comfortable fight, coasting almost, I think he probably has almost got that subconscious sort of state where he thinks he just needs to turn up. As a result, I can see him doing that against Skull, and Skull having a lot more success than maybe expected. Um, Canelo's shown, as you said, Niall, that he doesn't really push for a stoppage now, so he's almost just comfortable just to pot shot and at his own pace. So as a result, yeah, I think Skull will have considerably more success than most people are expecting, but it won't be reflected on the scorecards, of course. But I think after a comfortable decision on the scorecards, I think a lot of people will be going away saying exactly what we've been discussing, that is Canelo actually quite a way past his prime. And you'll get the usual Canelo haters and Skull fans saying it was a robbery or whatever. It probably won't be that, but it might well give Canelo food for thought as to how he approaches the rest of his career.
I'm agreeing with both of you. Three votes in favor of Canelo here, but I'm actually going to go for a knockout here. It might surprise you considering Canelo hasn't had some for so long, years almost. But without being, it's not being disrespectful or anything to William Scull, but I don't really think he has any business being in the ring with Canelo, to be honest. Um, is that harsh? Probably, but I just think he's going to be out of his depth. And yes, I understand all those points, and I completely agree with the coasting and like it's hard for him to get up for the fight when he basically knows he only he could tie one hand behind his back and win a lot of them. Um, but yeah, something tells me that he's going to get the stoppage here. I think that William Skull, as you said, now is very basic, does get hit. Yet Canelo's not a concussive puncher about 168, but I think he'd grind him down and just kind of the referee will maybe jump in and save William Skull, so to speak, for another day. So I'll go Canelo with its stoppage around round 8, 9, 10. That's where I'm going to go with Canelo to get him out of there, get back in the knockout streak, but could perhaps maybe gloss over the fact that he is a little past his best and maybe himself will take a few more shots than than he should be against someone of Skull's level. But yeah, that's all we've got time for, guys. Very interesting stuff. We're all going for Canelo, so please let us know in the comments if you agree. Are you agreeing with Niall and Ra that it's going to go points, fairly convincing, or could Canelo get back out on the knockout streak? Let us know in the comments. As always, please do like this video and subscribe to the channel if you're not doing so already. Niall, Ra, thanks very much, guys, and I'll speak to you again soon.